think one of the most respectable and most dangerous things that you can be in this world is a father, because you have to be a provider, and the biggest thing you got to be is a protector. This is a situation where a father ended up losing his life by being a protector, and I think it's really sad. It definitely caught my attention, and it definitely wanted to make me give the father a shout out for being a man, doing what he had to do, doing what he felt like was best. And there was a really, really big GoFundMe, so we'll talk about all of that. Let me give you a disclaimer so you know what type of content that I present to you. Some viewers may find the following content offensive and controversial. The information in this video comes from multiple sources, including court records, official police charges, news web articles, and interviews. This video commentary also contains my personal opinions about the facts of this story. The point is to use this story as a cautionary tale in hopes of preventing tragedies like these to children going forward. Viewer discretion is advised. That is your official disclaimer. And of course, we're always going to the best source for information, which is lawandcrime.com. They do an amazing job. Thank you again. But this Maryland father was beaten to death in front of his yard while protecting his children from a middle school fight that made its way to the family's home in Anne Arundel County late last week, according to authorities. So it's saying here, according to Google, that it's Annapolis, the state capital, and Highland Beach is roughly around that area. So maybe Baltimore is slightly different, so maybe the demographic could be different, but let's keep going. The father, this guy, his name is Christopher Michael Wright, 43 years old, so me and him are real close to the same age. He died from a traumatic brain injury at a hospital on Saturday. The violence reportedly occurred the day before. At Brooklyn Park Middle School, Wright's 14-year-old son got into a fight with another teenager on Friday afternoon and headed home, according to an account by the man's family that was relayed to the Baltimore-based NBC affiliate WBAL. School officials reportedly confirmed the fight began on campus and are working with law enforcement on the investigation. Wright's fiancée, by the name of Tracy, I can't pronounce her last name, explained the terrifying events. Chris came out to tell them, like, he's not coming out here to fight, and they threatened him at one point to come in and get him, and then said, if he's not going to fight, then you're going to fight, she told WBAL. Just looking at the damage that was done to him, that wasn't just punching that did him like that. Like, there's no way that punching did that. The damage was done before the ambulance ever took him away. I mean, he had a seizure. It was done. There was nothing that the hospital could do. But law enforcement say it wasn't just a teenager who followed the boy back home on Arundel Road West in Brooklyn. According to the Anne Arundel County Police Department, the suspects are described as 3 to 4 white males in their 20s and 30s. So these cowards were that scared of him to could just do a one-on-one? Like, where I'm from, we do one-on-ones. Like, why jump people? Like, that's just cowardice. Anyway, on May 19th, 2023, at approximately 5 p.m., officers responded for a report of an assault that just occurred. The AACPD said in a press release the victim was transported to an area trauma center for treatment of life-threatening injury. During their investigation, officers learned that the suspects arrived in the vehicle in the victim's residence in reference to an earlier altercation. The physical altercation ensued, and during that altercation, the victim sustained life-threatening injuries. On May 20th of 2023 at approximately 9:45 p.m., the victim succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced deceased at the hospital. Wright's sister-in-law, Kristen, relayed a similar version of events in comments to the Inside Edition this week. 2 men and 3 middle school kids came to the house to assault my nephew, his sister-in-law said. Chris died fighting to protect his son. He suffered a catastrophic brain injury and had no brain function by the time he made it to the hospital. They either used weapons or they probably stomped him out. That just seems to be the trend nowadays, kicking and stomping people in the head. I'm just guessing on that though. Kristen is the co-organizer of a GoFundMe page, and I will pull that up so you guys can see it real nice and vivid. Give me a moment. This is the GoFundMe. I want to brace you guys. The amount of the GoFundMe, the goal, $300,000. This man is 43 years old. I'm going to assume that he doesn't have life insurance. I'm not against GoFundMe. I'm just pro life insurance. GoFundMe should not substitute for life insurance. But in a lot of times, in a lot of cases, that's what happens. As you guys can see, they've already raised almost $60,000 in 6 days. Because the story is making a lot of headway right now. I don't really... Well, it could be for medical bills. Maybe the medical bills are super high. I mean, we just don't really know. But $300,000 is a pretty significant GoFundMe. I'm just like, wow. But no life insurance at 43. But that's what I'm saying. I don't get how... When we say when little kids pass away, we're just like, okay, well, they were too young to get life insurance, which you can get it. It's just, they're just like, well, we weren't expecting the kids to die. Okay, fine. I get that. The man's 43 years old. Why does he not have life insurance? What's the excuse for that? He's the victim. I'm not victim shaming or victim blaming. I'm just victim asking. At what point do you get life insurance? When you're 70, 80, 90, 95? When do you get life? I don't get it. I'm not trying to harp about that, but I'm just asking a question. I see this in too many cases. I just don't understand it. Chris went outside to defend his son and was beaten in the head, and his head was slammed onto the concrete repeatedly, causing significant brain damage. These men took the life of an amazing father and a life partner. He left this earth and those who loved him way too soon, and I think that should be a murder charge against everybody that was involved, including those kids, however you need to charge them, because they participated in this too. Now, they probably won't get the same sentence as the adults, but something needs to be done there, because this is just flat out ridiculous. But as of now, no arrests have been made. You guys can find this article on lawandcrime.com. I'm pretty sure they'll do an update at some point. But let me go ahead and give you guys the fair usage. Here we go. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Them men in their 20s and 30s are just flat out cowards. And they resemble his own race. Like, fight this man to that extent for what? Like, it's like people scared to catch a fair one. I'm sorry. I would just never understand why people got to jump somebody. Where I'm from, you catch a one-on-one. We ain't never believed in that we jumping people. Like, that's just some coward shit. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section about this story. It's just really, really sad. But the silver lining in this story is the fact that this woman and this mother, this wife, at least had a man in the house to defend the children. I want y'all to think about that for a moment. To all those people that believe in having children outside of wedlock, men don't matter and men are nothing but walking wallets. Think about this family that was intact, had a man, a husband, and a father there to protect the house, and the mother didn't have to go out there and go do it. This is what men have always done in history. Shout out to this father.
Anne Arundel County father is being remembered as a loving man. Just days ago, a man was beaten to death in front of his own home. His family tells us it was retaliation for an incident that happened at one of his son's schools. WJZ live in Brooklyn Park right now. That's where this happened. Dennis Valera spoke with the victim's fiance. Dennis?
Denise, she says they've been together for the last 15 years, engaged for the last 8. She says that the world really lost the light when Chris Wright died. Police are still looking for the suspects in this. They're described as 3 to 4 men, all in their 20s to 30s.
Tracy Karapczynski and Chris Wright started off as co-workers, but their relationship soon turned into something more after he asked her a question.
The next Friday asked, can we have a beer together after work? And I was like, well, if it's Friday, I guess. If I'm drinking a beer and you're drinking a beer, we'll have a beer together. And we've been together ever since.
They grew a family together and always talked about getting married.
And Chris wanted a big, beautiful church wedding with everybody there. And I was the type of person like, well, we've never been to Vegas. I thought we had time.
Their time cut short this past Friday. Police say officers found him severely beaten at Tracy and Chris's home around 5 p.m. He died at the hospital a day later. Tracy says it stemmed from a fight from her son's school, Brooklyn Park Middle School. The school district confirmed this happened, helping with the police investigation. Tevin Wright is the youngest. He says his dad really took care of them.
She would usually be at work, and he would be the one person to take care of us every week. Every weekday, I would get home and I would see him, which would make me smile.
A lasting legacy of Chris, these flowers. Tracy says he had quite the green thumb, but an even bigger one, his heart.
He was a friend to everybody. I mean, just the outpour that we've been getting from friends, and just they're really, really going to miss out on somebody with a really big heart. He loved beyond.
Walk up the steps at Amici's in Little Italy. You take a hard left to the bar, and you'll run right into the smiling face of Tracy. And she'd lean over and ask you how your life was going. Tonight it's our turn to ask. And what you're about to hear will go right to your heart. WMAR 2 News' Jack Watson spoke with a broken soul tonight. Jack?
Jamie, for that family, this is all still very new. It happened last Friday. Chris Wright died a day later, and now his family is asking for help from the community.
This is his garden. That was his thing, always out in his garden.
A garden can be a calming thing. Chris Wright loved his. This red and purple beside the walkway of his home, just bought last year. His touch tending to this and to his beloved children is how longtime partner Tracy Karapczynski will remember him.
And it's got to stop. These kids need somebody to teach them right from wrong. I mean, everybody's lives are destroyed right now. Whatever happened, whatever the outcome of everything, nothing's going to be the same for so many families.
Tracy says last week her 14-year-old son had been in altercations all day at school, and a group of both children and adults came to their home. She says Chris was in this front yard, they exchanged words, and that group fought him. He went to the hospital and died there a day later. Now, Anne Arundel County Police are on the hunt for who did it.
None of us can believe what happened. It doesn't make any sense.
If you frequent Little Italy in Baltimore, you might know Tracy is a neighborhood bartender at Amici's restaurant. Jody Baker is the manager here and says folks have reached out from all over to check in.
I've talked to her daily, what do you need, what can we do, but, she's still in a crisis mode, we're just trying to be here for her, to finally be able to help her the way that she's helped us.
The restaurant is directing patrons to a GoFundMe set up by members of the family. There's barely been time to process the days-old tragedy, but in the fallout of this loss, Tracy wants to direct her energy to advocate for kids going down the wrong path.
Chris would have done anything to protect his children, and he did. And I just don't want other people to go through this kind of thing.
Well, at last word, Anne Arundel County Police are looking for 3 to 4 men from their mid-20s to their mid-30s. No arrests to report in this case.
They didn't just ruin our lives. Their lives are going to be changed forever. Their parents' lives are going to be changed forever. And nobody thinks about that, just from a fight.
43-year-old Christopher Wright was killed protecting his kids from a fight that started at Brooklyn Park Middle School Friday and was brought to his doorstep in Anne Arundel County.
So then Chris came out and to tell them, like, he's not coming out here to fight. And they had threatened at one point to come in and get him. And then they had said that if he's not gonna fight, then you're gonna fight us.
Tracy Karabczynski, Wright's fiance, says 3 teens and 2 adults showed up at her house looking to fight her 14-year-old son. But what happened next was criminal.
The damage was done before the ambulance ever took him away. He had had a seizure. It was done. There was nothing that the hospital could do.
I'll never forget the sounds. I'll never forget the noises my nephews made when we had to tell them he was gone.
Wright was taken to shock trauma Friday and pronounced dead Saturday from a traumatic brain injury. The incident was caught on the victim and a neighbor's security camera.
I was at shock trauma initially, and my dad and I tried to go onto the camera to look. And the first video that comes up is my 12-year-old son screaming, "Daddy, Daddy, Daddy," and running out of the house to go into the street and help his dad. And I couldn't watch anymore after that. I just couldn't.
School officials confirmed the fight between the teens and say they worked to address the issue. Now they're working with police on the investigation.
Anybody who assisted or abetted or was an accomplice of the main suspect or the primary suspect in this incident would be culpable.
Karabczynski says Chris was a devoted father who loved the stars and gardening. Her best friend taken over senseless violence.
It's everywhere. It is everywhere. And somewhere we as parents are failing these children. Like, as parents, we're failing. It's not the school's responsibility. It's our responsibility.
Wright's family is planning a candlelight vigil to honor his memory. In Anne Arundel County, I'm Janine Donaldson for WBAL TV 11 News.
It's got to stop. Like, these kids need somebody to teach them right from wrong. I
think I'll end that video right there. I don't even know what to say about that. Like, in their 20s and 30s, and this man is 43 years old. He's not in his physical prime anymore. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he was in his, like I was in my physical prime like when I was like 25 years old. Like in my mid 40s, not so much so. Now things are starting to hurt in my knees and my ankles, and you know, it's just, how cowardice is that? To jump him, stomp him out, and kill this man over what? He needed to die because what? Y'all wanted his son to die? What did his son do? This sounds like they were trying to be bullies, trying to punk him into doing something or something like that. Been messing with this boy all day long when he's... I'm try to not say it. Those particular kids that had been bullying him, trying to fight him at school, because some of y'all know exactly what I wanted to say. But I don't disparage children on my show. Been trying to fight this boy all day and showed up to his house to finish doing what? To take his life? And instead of taking his life, then you take his dad's life? I say everybody that was involved, throw them all away. Everybody that had something to do with that. Because clearly, none of them are at school for learning. They clearly don't care. And I think our society will be better without everybody that was involved in taking the life of this father, trying to protect his family. I respect him for doing that. And in all actuality, fathers make life and death decisions like this all the time to protect their family. And you know, truly, we don't mind giving up our life for our kids. I do that for my daughter, and I'm sure any father out there will speak on that. We'll do that for our kids. That's the true blessing of men, to selflessly give ourselves so that others can have life. It's the way it's always been. And just keep the family in your prayer. I know they got the GoFundMe up there. And, you know, if you guys want to finish out that $300,000, I get it. I just hope that they can do something really, really good with it. But let me know what you guys think about this particular story, okay? Keep a prayer hands up for that family and those kids. Thank you.